You welcome U.S. Coins 1943 start with a shocking statistic about the rarity of this $quarter-dollar coin and its staggering market value to captivate the audience immediately today. We're diving into the fascinating world of the 1970 United States $quarter-dollar, a coin that, while often overlooked, could be worth far more than you ever imagined. At first glance, the 1970 quarter might seem like just another regular coin, part of the typical circulation from the U.S. Mint. After all, it was produced during a time of significant economic and cultural change in the United States, the late 1960s and early 1970s. The 1970 quarter features the standard design of George Washington's bust on the obverse, with a majestic eagle on the reverse, proudly holding arrows and an olive branch. It's a design that has become iconic in American currency, one that millions of people have seen countless times, but here's where things get interesting. While this coin might look like just another quarter at first, there's a rare and highly valuable secret hidden beneath its surface. The 1970 quarter dollar was minted with some particularly intriguing characteristics that make it highly sought after by collectors. Let's dive into those details because, trust me, this is a coin you'll want to pay attention to. One of the most notable features that set the 1970 quarter apart from other coins is the presence of certain minting errors. As you may already know, minting errors can drastically increase the value of a coin. These are mistakes that occur during the production process, and often, these errors result in coins that are unique and far more valuable than their intended counterparts. The 1970 quarter is particularly famous for a few key errors that have made it a prized possession for coin collectors. One of the most well-known errors is the double die variety. A double die error occurs when a coin is struck twice, but the second strike is misaligned, creating a doubled image on the coin. This error can be especially noticeable on the date and the inscriptions. For the 1970 quarter, this means that the date 1970 and other lettering may appear doubled, making it stand out from other regular quarters, but it doesn't stop there. There's another error known as the D over D variety, which refers to a minting mistake where the D mint mark, which indicates the coin was minted in Denver, appears twice stacked one on top of the other. This happens when the coin is mistakenly struck with the mint mark that was used previously, creating a slight overlap. This error, while subtle, makes the coin a rarity and highly desirable to collectors who appreciate these types of unique features. These errors, especially the double die and D over D varieties, are what make the 1970 quarter so special in the world of coin collecting. Error coins are incredibly rare to find, especially in circulation. Most of the time, coins with errors like these are pulled from the production line and either corrected or melted down. So, when a mistake coin like the 1970 quarter survives and ends up in someone's collection, it becomes a treasure trove for those in the numismatic community. Now, let's talk about the value of these rare 1970 quarters. For the average person, a typical 1970 quarter in worn condition is worth, well, just 25 cents its face value. But when it comes to error coins, the story changes dramatically. If you happen to find a 1970 quarter with a noticeable double die or D over D error, the value can skyrocket. Depending on the condition of the coin, it could easily fetch a price in the thousands of dollars. In fact, some of these error coins, particularly those that are well preserved or have been graded in excellent condition, have been known to sell for as much as $80,000. Yes, you heard that right, $80,000 for just a single quarter. Imagine stumbling upon one of these rare gems while going through your coin collection or even your loose change. It's the kind of discovery that makes coin collecting so thrilling. Now, how do you know if your 1970 quarter is one of these rare treasures? It's all about inspecting the details. The double die error will show a noticeable doubling of the date and the inscriptions. Look closely at the 1970 date. If you see that the numbers appear to be doubled or shifted, then you found something special. As for the D over D mint mark error, you'll need to carefully examine the mint mark on the reverse of the coin. If you notice a slight overlap or a double D mint mark, then you're looking at a rare and valuable coin. For serious collectors, it's always recommended to have your coin professionally graded. Grading services can evaluate the condition of your coin and assign it a grade that will help determine its exact market value. The better the condition, the higher the price. So if you happen to have a well-preserved 1970 quarter with one of these errors, you could be sitting on a small fortune. If you're just starting out in the world of coin collecting, this is a perfect example of why attention to detail matters. Whether you're sorting through a pile of loose change or looking through your personal collection, always take a moment to carefully examine the coins for any signs of minting errors. Those small, seemingly insignificant mistakes could turn out to be worth a lot more than you think. To wrap things up, the 1970 United States quarter dollar is a prime example of how a seemingly ordinary coin can be transformed into a collector's goldmine. The double die and D over D errors have made this coin one of the most sought-after pieces in the numismatic world. And if you're lucky enough to have one of these rare coins, you could be holding something worth as much as $80,000. So, the next time you're sorting through your coins, don't just toss that 1970 D quarter aside. Take a closer look, you could be holding a rare. Top 2 1974 United States quarter dollar. While this coin might seem like just another typical quarter, it actually has the potential to be worth far more than its face value. That's right, this quarter could be hiding a secret that makes it a treasure worth thousands of dollars. So, what makes the 1974 quarter so special? Well, while most quarters from this era were mass-produced and distributed into circulation, there's something about the 1974 US quarter that makes it stand out. For collectors, the key to its value lies in rare minting errors and the unique features that have made this coin one of the most interesting to hunt for in recent years. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, this coin holds fascinating details that you'll want to pay close attention to. First off, let's talk about the design. The 1974 quarter, like all standard quarters produced since 1932, features George Washington's portrait on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. At first glance, it might seem just like any other quarter, but the real story begins when we dive into some of the subtle yet significant errors that occurred during the minting process. One of the most common errors associated with the 1974 quarter is the double die error. For those of you who are not familiar, a double die error occurs when a coin is struck multiple times, but the second strike is misaligned. This results in a noticeable doubling effect on the design. On a 1974 quarter, this could mean the date 1974 appears doubled, or there might be a duplication of the lettering and features around George Washington's portrait. For a coin enthusiast, these double die errors are a huge deal. They can turn a seemingly ordinary quarter into an extraordinary piece of history. Another error that's made the 1974 quarter highly desirable is the die cracks that can sometimes be found on these coins. When a die, the tool used to imprint the design onto the coin, becomes worn or cracked, it can leave visible marks on the coin. These die cracks are considered part of the coin's history and make it more unique, adding to its value. Collectors love these little imperfections because they give the coin character and provide a glimpse into the minting process. And now, let's get to the most exciting part. How much could your 1974 quarter be worth? You might be thinking that a regular 1974 quarter is worth, well, just 25 cents. But that's where you'd be wrong. If you happen to have one of the rarer versions of this coin, especially one with a double die or die crack, it could fetch a hefty price. While most of these quarters might still be circulating at face value, there have been documented cases of well-preserved, error-free 1974 quarters being sold for thousands of dollars at auction. But hold on, here's the real kicker. If you're lucky enough to have a 1974 quarter with a noticeable double die error or an unusual die crack in excellent condition, it could be worth as much as $81,000. Yes, you heard that right, $81,000 for just one quarter. This is the kind of find that could completely change your life and make your coin collection incredibly valuable. So, how do you know if you have a rare 1974 quarter on your hands? Well, it all comes down to carefully inspecting the coin. Start by looking closely at the date. If you see any doubling, where the numbers appear to be overlapping or shifted, then you could be dealing with a double die error. Next, check the edges of the coin for any die cracks or unusual marks that might indicate the coin was struck with a damaged die. If you spot any of these features, don't just toss the coin aside. Hold on to it, as it could be worth significantly more than you think. If you're new to coin collecting, don't worry, there are plenty of resources available to help you spot these errors and assess the value of your coins. And, of course, if you're unsure whether your 1974 quarter is one of these rare varieties, you can always take it to a professional numismatist or have it graded by a trusted coin grading service. These experts can help you determine the exact value of your coin based on its condition, rarity, and any errors it might possess. For those of you who already have a collection of coins, the 1974 quarter is a great example of why it's so important to pay attention to the details. Coins that may seem ordinary at first glance could actually be worth a fortune. So, don't rush through your collection. Take the time to really inspect each coin and see if there are any signs of errors or unique features that might make them more valuable. In conclusion, the 1974 United States quarter dollar is more than just a simple coin. Thanks to its potential minting errors, like the double die and die cracks, this coin can be worth far more than its face value. And if you're lucky enough to own one of these rare varieties in great condition, you could be holding a coin worth $81,000. That's an impressive sum for just a quarter, and it's proof that sometimes the most unassuming objects can be worth a fortune. So, keep an eye out for those 1,974 quarters in your collection or while you're going through your change. You never know, you might just discover that you're holding a rare treasure worth thousands of dollars. Top 3 today, we're talking about the 1986 United States quarter dollar. At first glance, this may seem like just another modern quarter, but as we'll discover, there's much more to this coin than meets the eye. In fact, if you're a collector or someone who's been gathering coins for a while, the 1986 quarter could be worth more than you could ever imagine. Now, before we get into the specifics, let's take a quick trip back to 1986. The world was a very different place back then. Reagan was in office, the space shuttle Challenger tragically exploded, and pop culture was booming with the release of Top Gun and the launch of the iconic The Oprah Winfrey Show. In terms of U.S. currency, the 1986 quarter was part of a continuous run of coins produced with the familiar Washington design on the obverse. The reverse of the coin, however, was part of a tradition that had been in place for decades, with no major changes to the coin's appearance at that time. While the 1986 quarter wasn't a new or groundbreaking design, what makes this particular coin stand out is not the design itself, but rather the way it was struck and the possibility of errors that occurred during production. The key to the 1986 quarter's rarity and value lies in these minting errors, some of which could turn your standard 25-cent coin into a treasure worth much, much more. So, what makes the 1986 quarter so special, and why should collectors take notice of it? First, let's talk about the rare minting errors that make this coin so desirable. When you hear about valuable coins, you often hear about errors, and for good reason. Those errors can make a coin incredibly rare and valuable. One of the most notable errors that can be found on 1986 quarters is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck more than once, causing the image to appear slightly doubled. The most noticeable place to find this error is in the date and the lettering, such as Liberty and In God We Trust. These coins stand out to collectors because they are not like any other quarters produced that year. If you happen to have one of these, you found something that could be worth far more than a standard 25-cent coin. In addition to the double die error, another potential issue with the 1986 quarter is the misaligned die. When a coin is struck off-center, you end up with a quarter where the design appears to be slightly tilted or misplaced. It's a subtle error that only the trained eye can catch, but when you spot one, it can be a sign that the coin is a rare find. Misaligned die coins are desirable because they are unique and one of a kind. If you're lucky enough to come across a 1986 quarter with a misaligned die, especially one that's noticeable to the eye, you could be sitting on a rare and valuable piece of U.S. currency. But it's not just the minting errors that could make the 1986 quarter valuable. Another important factor is the condition of the coin. Like any other coin, a well-preserved 1986 quarter in near mint or uncirculated condition can be worth more than a coin that's been worn down over time. Because quarters are regularly used in daily transactions, most of the 1986 quarters that are out there have experienced some level of wear. However, finding a 1986 quarter in pristine condition, one that has sharp details, no scratches, and no discoloration, makes it more attractive to collectors. Coins that have been well preserved can command much higher prices, and this applies to the 1986 quarter as well. So, what exactly can you expect a 1986 quarter to be worth? While most 1986 quarters are worth just their face value of 25 cents, there are those rare examples with minting errors or in excellent condition that can fetch a much higher price. It all depends on the rarity of the error and the condition of the coin. And now, the big question: how much could a rare 1986 quarter be worth? If you happen to have one of the highly coveted error coins, or if your coin is in pristine condition, you could be looking at a value of up to $71,000. Yes, you heard that right, $71,000 for a single 1986 quarter. While that's not something you'll see every day, it's possible if you've got a coin with a notable minting error or one that's been impeccably preserved. Coin collectors and investors know that the value of rare coins like this can skyrocket, especially if they're one of a kind, with error characteristics or pristine details that make them stand out in the marketplace. So, what should you do if you think you found one of these rare 1986 quarters? The first step is to carefully inspect the coin. Look for any signs of errors, like double die strikes or misaligned die issues. Check the weight as well, as a coin that's unusually heavy or light could be another clue. If you find that your quarter is in fantastic condition with no visible wear, it could be worth a lot more than a standard quarter. The next step is to have the coin professionally graded by a certified numismatist. A professional grading service can evaluate the condition of the coin and confirm whether it's worth a premium price. Coin collectors around the world are always on the lookout for rare and unique pieces, so if you find a 1986 quarter with any kind of error or in top condition, you might just have a valuable coin on your hands. If you've been collecting coins for a while, or if you're just starting out, the 1986 quarter is definitely one to keep an eye on. Thank you for joining us in today's video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1986 quarter and want to learn more about rare coins, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a coin discovery.